Hello everyone, I'm Sir JC and you are watching Literature Unfolded. In today's episode, we are about to discuss the conventional literary genres. Conventional literary genres are the traditional literary genre or major genres of literature. The conventional literary genres can be classified into four categories. First, poetry. Second, fiction. Third, nonfiction. And fourth, drama. Let's start with poetry. Poetry is an imaginative awareness of experience expressed through meaning, sound, and rhythmic language choices. Poetry can take many different forms, from traditional rhyme schemes to free verse. Poetry is a genre of literature that uses imaginative and often rhythmic language to express an idea, evoke emotion, or tell a story. It is also a creative manner of translating personal emotions and experiences through writing. The structure of poetry requires lines and stanzas. It also employs meter and rhyme, unless you are composing a free verse. Sound and rhythmic language choices evokes or brings out the emotional response. The very nature of poetry is an authentic and individual mode of expression. One of the best Filipino poems would be God Said I Made a Man by Jose Garcia Villa. A poetry can be divided into three types: narrative, lyric, and dramatic. Narrative poetry is a form of poetry that tells a story. It usually follows a plot with characters, a setting, and a climax. Next, lyric poetry. It is a type of poetry that expresses personal emotions or thoughts. It often includes rhyme and meter, and also it can be sung as a song. Lastly, dramatic poetry. It is a type of poetry that is meant to be performed in a play or theatrical setting. It often includes elements of dialogue, monologue, and characterization. As you can see in this diagram, the poetry under literature can be classified into three types. Again, narrative, lyric, and dramatic. In narrative, the examples are epic, ballad, and metrical tale. Whereas in lyric poetry, the examples are song, ode, sonnet, and elegy. And lastly, in dramatic poetry, the examples are tragedy, comedy, melodrama, farce, and social tale. The second and third conventional literary genres are fiction and nonfiction. These two particular genres are under prose literature. Fiction in literature is any story or novel that is created from the author's imagination as opposed to being based on facts or real events. It is a literature created from the imagination and not presented as a fact. The types of literature in the fiction include the novel, short story, and novella. Good examples of these are The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant, the father of short story, and also The Centipede by Ronnie V. Diaz. Contradicting to fiction is nonfiction. Nonfiction in literature is a genre which encompasses essays, biographies, memoir, and other written works that are based on facts and real events. Nonfiction is based on facts and the author's opinion about a subject. The purpose of nonfiction writing is to inform and sometimes to persuade. Its examples are biographies, articles from textbooks, magazines, and newspapers. As you can see in this model, fiction and nonfiction are under prose literature. For nonfiction, the examples are novel, short story, novella, fable, parable, and legend. Whereas in nonfiction, the examples are history, news, biography, diary, anecdote, and essay. To fully understand the examples of fiction stories, let's have the following. First, novel. A novel is a work of long prose fiction which is usually centered around characters, events, and settings. Novels usually have multiple chapters with a larger plot and focus on character development. Next, short story. A short story is a work of fiction that is usually shorter in length than a novel. Third, novella. A novella is a work of narrative fiction longer than a short story but shorter than a novel. Generally, novellas are between 20,000 and 40,000 words in length. In addition, let's have fable. A fable is a short story, typically with animals as characters, that teaches a moral lesson. Next, parable. A parable is a short story or brief tale that is used to illustrate a moral lesson or religious practice. Lastly, legend. A legend is a traditional story that has been passed down through generations and is typically based on historical events. Moving on to the examples of nonfiction, let's have this definition. First, history. History is the study of past events, particularly human activity and its impact on people and societies. News. A news is a piece of information about a current event or situation. It may be reported in a variety of media, including newspaper, television, radio, and the internet. Third, biography. A biography is a detailed description or account of a person's life. It includes facts and information about the person's childhood, education, family, work, and death. Moving on to more examples of nonfiction, let's have a diary. A diary is a personal record of experiences, thoughts, or reflections that kept regularly and often privately. It can be a physical book or an electronic document. Next, anecdote. An anecdote is a brief, often amusing story about a real incident or a person. And lastly, an essay. An essay is a short piece of writing that focuses on a particular topic or argument. Essays are used to express ideas, explain a point, or discuss a topic in a structured and organized way. The last conventional literary genre is drama. Drama is a composition in prose or verse presenting in dialogue or pantomime a story involving conflict and more contrast of characters. Drama is especially intended to be acted out on stage or a play. It may be any situation or series of events having vivid, emotional, conflicting, or striking interests. A good example of a drama is The World is an Apple by Alberto Florentino. And that's it for today's video about the conventional literary genres. I hope you learned a lot. See you in our next video.